Westbridge High had a secret. It lurked in the shadows of the old auditorium. Everyone knew the story. They whispered it in the hallways. It was the Legend of Evelyn. Evelyn was a student at Westbridge a long time ago. She loved the stage. She dreamed of bright lights and thunderous applause. One night during a school play, tragedy struck. Evelyn fell to her death from the catwalk above the stage. Some said it was an accident. Others whispered of foul play. But one thing was certain. Evelyn's presence lingered. Students swore they heard her mournful cries echoing backstage. Some even claimed to see flickering lights in the locked auditorium late at night. Most dismissed it as a spooky story, just a way to add a little thrill to the mundane school days. But deep down, a shiver of fear ran down their spines. Was there truth to the legend of Evelyn, or was it just a figment of their imaginations? Only the brave dared to find out. The rumours about Evelyn started subtly, a whisper here, a giggle there. Students shared the story amongst themselves, their voices hushed and eyes wide. At first it was just a fun, spooky tale to tell at sleepovers or around a campfire, but then the rumours began to escalate. Students claimed to hear strange noises coming from the auditorium, soft cries, like someone sobbing quietly in the darkness. Others swore they saw a shadowy figure flitting across the stage when no one was supposed to be there. These whispers started to spread like wildfire through the school. What was once a harmless legend was starting to feel all too real. The air crackled with nervous energy. The once dismissive laughter was replaced with uneasy glances towards the auditorium door. Mr. Johnson, the school janitor, had always been a solitary man. He preferred the company of his brooms and mops to the chatter of students. But even he couldn't ignore the growing unease surrounding the auditorium. One day, Mr. Johnson refused to clean the auditorium alone. He claimed to have heard his name whispered in the empty seats. He said he felt a cold hand on his shoulder when no one was near. The students were shocked. Mr. Johnson was a man of simple faith and logic. If he was scared, something was truly wrong. His refusal sent a chill down everyone's spines. It was one thing for teenagers to be spooked by ghost stories, but for a grown man, a man of practicality, to be so terrified, it was a turning point. The legend of Evelyn was no longer just a story. It was a palpable presence that sent shivers down their spines. The tension at Westbridge High reached a fever pitch when Mrs. Henderson, the drama teacher, abruptly quit. Mrs. Henderson, a woman known for her vibrant personality and love for the theatre, left without a word of explanation. Rumours swirled around her departure. Some whispered that she had seen Evelyn's ghost on the very stage she herself had graced so many times. Others said she had heard Evelyn's voice calling her name during a rehearsal, a plea for help that sent chills down her spine. Whatever the reason, Mrs. Henderson's sudden departure solidified the belief that something was amiss in the auditorium. The whispers turned into hushed conversations, the laughter into nervous glances. Even the skeptics started to wonder if there was more to the legend of Evelyn than they had initially believed. Fear, once a fleeting shadow, began to take root in the hearts of Westbridge High's students. Section 5. The night of the investigation. Driven by curiosity and fear, a group of students decided to take matters into their own hands. They planned to sneak into the auditorium at night. It was a risky move, but they were determined to uncover the truth behind the haunting. The group consisted of Jake, the athletic one, Emily, the skeptic, Ben, the tech whiz, and Chloe, the believer. Armed with flashlights and walkie-talkies, they met at the back entrance of the school just as the sun began to set. The air was thick with anticipation and dread. Their hearts pounded in their chests as they picked the lock and slipped inside the dark and silent school. Their footsteps echoed in the empty hallways. each creak and groan of the old building sending shivers down their spines. The auditorium was shrouded in darkness, the only light filtering in from the moon outside. The air was heavy and still, filled with an eerie silence that seemed to amplify every sound. They crept through the aisles, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. As they reached the stage, they noticed something strange. A single light was on backstage. It illuminated a figure hunched over a desk. Fear gripped their hearts. Could it be Evelyn? Was she real, or was it someone else? They exchanged nervous glances, their eyes wide with a mixture of terror and excitement. Ben aimed his flashlight at the figure, and they all gasped in unison. It wasn't Evelyn. It was Mr. Callahan, the school principal. What was he doing there at this hour? Mr. Callahan looked startled as the students approached him. He seemed to be lost in thought, his face pale and drawn. He looked up at them, his eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and resignation. He knew why they were there. "I suppose you're wondering what I'm doing here," he said, his voice heavy with unspoken emotions. The students nodded, their fear giving way to confusion. Mr. Callahan took a deep breath and began to speak, his voice barely a whisper. "I've been coming here every night for years, ever since Evelyn." He confessed that he knew more about Evelyn's death than he had let on. He told them that Evelyn was a bright and talented student, but she was also the target of relentless bullying. Mr. Callahan had been aware of the situation, but had failed to take action, hoping it would resolve itself. Mr. Callahan revealed that Evelyn's death wasn't an accident. She had been pushed from the catwalk by a group of students who had been tormenting her for months. The truth, buried for so long, hung heavy in the air. He confessed that he had been haunted by his inaction ever since that night. He had seen the signs, heard the whispers, but had chosen to ignore them. Now he felt responsible for Evelyn's death, his silence a heavy burden on his soul. He had been coming to the auditorium every night, hoping to find some peace, some way to atone for his silence. He spoke of strange occurrences, of hearing Evelyn's voice calling out to him, of feeling her presence beside him in the darkness. The students listened intently, their initial fear replaced by a profound sadness. The legend of Evelyn had taken on a whole new meaning. It wasn't just a spooky story anymore. It was a tragic reminder of the devastating consequences of bullying and the importance of speaking out against injustice. They left the auditorium that night with heavy hearts, their understanding of the haunting forever changed. Evelyn's story wasn't just about a ghost. It was about a young girl whose light had been extinguished too soon. It was about the importance of kindness, empathy, and courage. From that day forward, they vowed to honor Evelyn's memory by standing up for what was right, by being a voice for the voiceless, and by ensuring that no one at Westbridge High would ever feel as alone and afraid as Evelyn had.